What kind of God asks a father to kill his son? That question has stopped readers cold for thousands of years. It stopped me cold the first time I really sat with Genesis 22, and if you've never felt the weight of that question, you may not have read this chapter carefully enough. This is the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, one of the most examined passages in all of Scripture, and one of the most misunderstood. Most people walk away from Genesis 22 with one of two reactions. Either they feel vaguely inspired by Abraham's faith and move on, or they feel quietly disturbed and push the discomfort down. Neither response does justice to what this text is actually doing, because when you dig into the historical context, the original Hebrew, and the literary architecture of this passage, something extraordinary emerges. This is not just a story about Abraham's obedience. This is one of the most theologically loaded chapters in the entire Old Testament. And by the end of this investigation, you will see it completely differently. Let me show you what I mean. The common reading of Genesis 22 goes something like this. God tests Abraham to see if he really loves God more than his son. Abraham passes the test. God provides a substitute. The ram dies instead of Isaac. God reaffirms his covenant. End of story. Faith wins. And look, that reading is not wrong, but it is dangerously incomplete. It leaves out the context that makes this story utterly explosive, misses the theological problem Genesis 22 is designed to solve, skips right past the details in the Hebrew text that ancient readers would have caught immediately. So let's slow down and actually investigate. To understand what is happening in Genesis 22, you need to understand what has happened in the 21 chapters before it. God made a promise to Abraham in Genesis 12. He would be the father of a great nation. His descendants would outnumber the stars. Through him, all the families of the earth would be blessed. There is one small problem with that promise. Abraham has no children. Year after year, decade after decade, the promise hangs in the air while Abraham and Sarah grow older. Then in Genesis 21, the impossible happens. Isaac is born, the child of promise, the miracle baby, the one through whom every covenant word will be fulfilled. Which means when God opens Genesis 22 with the words, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering," the readers should feel the ground disappear beneath their feet. This is not a small ask. This is the total destruction of everything God has promised. If you subscribe to this channel and want to keep going deeper into passages like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now and ring that bell. This is exactly the kind of investigation we do here every single week, and you do not want to miss what is coming. Now here is where the Hebrew text starts revealing things the English translation can obscure. When God speaks to Abraham in verse 2, he uses a phrase that is heartbreaking in its specificity. It says, "Your son, your only son, whom you love." In Hebrew, the word for only son here is yachid. It means the unique one, the singular one, the one of a kind. This word matters. It will come back. Abraham rises early in the morning. He cuts the wood. He saddles the donkey, takes 2 young men and Isaac, and sets out. Notice what the text does not record. It does not record Abraham's prayer. It does not record his tears. It does not record a single word of inner struggle. The silence is devastating. On the 3rd day, Abraham sees the place from a distance, tells the young men, "Stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go over there and worship and come back to a..." That phrase has stopped commentators for centuries. Come back, both of us. Is Abraham lying to spare the young man from distress? Maybe. But the writer of Hebrews offers a different interpretation. Hebrews 11:19 says that Abraham reasoned that God was able to raise Isaac from the dead. He believed that even if he went through with it, God would somehow keep his covenant promise. Faith that's staggering deserves more than a passing nod. But pay attention to what happens on the way up the mountain. Isaac speaks. And what he says is one of the most quietly devastating lines in Genesis. "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" And Abraham answers, "God will provide for himself the lamb, my son." The Hebrew there is haunting. God will see to it. God will see. The verb is ra, to see, to perceive, to attend to. Abraham does not know how this ends. He only knows that the God who made the promise will find a way to keep it. They reach the place. Abraham builds the altar, arranges the wood. He binds his son, places him on the altar. He reaches out his hand and takes the knife. Stop right there. because most modern readers hit this scene and feel a kind of horrified suspense, but the original Israelite reader would have felt something else entirely. In the ancient Near East, child sacrifice was not unheard of. The nations surrounding Israel practiced it. Molech worship, Baal worship. The idea that the gods demanded the most precious thing you had, even your own child, was embedded in ancient religion. So the Israelite reader hearing this story for the first time is holding their breath for a completely different reason. They already know what some gods demand. They are waiting to find out what kind of God this is. And then the angel of the Lord calls out from heaven, "Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Abraham lifts his eyes, and he offers it as a burnt offering instead of his son. And then Abraham names the place, calls it "the Lord will provide." In Hebrew, Yahweh Yireh, the Lord sees. The Lord provides. The Lord attends to what is needed before you even ask. Pause for a moment right here. Has this passage shifted for you yet? Drop a comment below and tell me what detail is hitting you hardest. I read every single one, and your questions genuinely shape the next video we make. Because what just happened on that mountain was not simply a test of Abraham's loyalty. It was a revelation of God's character. It was God declaring through action, not just words, that he is not like the gods of the nations. He does not ultimately demand the death of your beloved. He provides the substitute himself. But the text does not let us stop there, because the angel speaks a second time. It's in verses 17 and 18. The covenant is reaffirmed with intensity. "I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven and as the sand on the seashore. And your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed." Through this test, the covenant is not destroyed. It is confirmed with fire. Now here is where faithful interpretation demands we make a connection the New Testament makes explicit. Remember that word yachid, the unique one, the only son? The one of a kind, the beloved son sent to a specific place to be offered. The substitute provided by God himself. The ram caught in the thicket, bearing the death that should have been Isaac's. John 3:16 does not begin in the New Testament. It begins here on Mount Moriah, where God so loved the world, he gave his only son. The word John uses for only is monogenes, unique. It's one of a kind. The echo is not accidental. The theology of Genesis 22 flows directly into the cross. God provides the lamb. God himself goes to the mountain. God himself does not withhold his son. The ram in the thicket was always pointing forward. Abraham called that mountain "the Lord will provide." And the text adds one of the most haunting phrases in the Old Testament. It is said to this day, "On the mount of the Lord it shall be provided." Mount Moriah, the same mountain range where Jerusalem was built, the same mountain where the temple would stand, and the same mountain where centuries later, another father would not spare his only son. Genesis 22 is not just a story about Abraham's faith. It is the beginning of the story that ends at Calvary. If this kind of deep investigation into what Scripture is actually saying is lighting something up in you, subscribe right now and share this video with someone who needs to see Genesis 22 through fresh eyes. Hit the like button if this changed something for you, and ring that bell because the next investigation is coming soon. If you want to support this ministry and help us keep making content like this, there is a link in the description below. This is Context in Canon. Thank you for watching.